Hey, what are we doing here today? It's Todd Smith, moneyfromapps.com, outlandish apps, among other things. Um, so, answering the question, what am I doing on video today? I really, lately I've been consuming a lot of video content and doing a lot of research, and I'm seeing that not only do I enjoy consuming video content from different people, different areas, niches, doesn't matter for entertainment. I mean, I know this isn't new. I'm sure you enjoy watching video. But I mean anything from entertainment when you're relaxing or doing research. Having somebody on camera explaining something, um, whether or not it's, when you think about podcasts, how big those are getting. Um, and then you start to see some people that film the podcast. So even local radio stations do this in little areas. It's like you hear the voice, and then they have a video set up so you can see. Man, that is shaking a lot. I wonder why that's shaking so much. Anyway, they have the audio going on, and then in the background, somebody's videoing occasionally. So you're seeing behind the scenes. Like right now, nothing awesome is happening here, but at least you're seeing somebody and you're talking. When I'm talking, and I'll be able to show you things on the screen. It's how I like to communicate. It's how I like to consume. But yet, I still push out sort of emails and updates with email. Let me say that again, with text. Writing blog posts and sending the email that you got this video link possibly in. Sales pages, right? Checkout pages. A lot of these things are all in text. Whereas if you've emailed me before, it doesn't matter if we've developed something for you, reskinned, whatever the case. Maybe you've bought something, maybe you've had a support question. There's a good chance that I've responded either with an audio message or video message, because it's a lot easier for me sometimes. I guess easier is the wrong word. Depending on the time of the year and how much I'm clicking around on the mouse or out riding, on my bike with shifting and everything, depends on how sore my right hand is, right? So a lot of times, instead of having to type away for minutes or hours, whatever the case, it's easier for me to just get the camera going here and just respond. And sometimes it's a lot easier, especially on like another side of this with a partner. We do some development work for people, so they'll ask us to do a change, and either instead of me doing a long email that's pretty boring for them to at least see, and like having to add a ton of screenshots, it's easier for me to just turn on the camera and show them, like, here's the project, here's the code, here's why we can't do what you want, here's why we can. And for the past, I don't know, 6 months or so, I've gotten pretty good feedback. The only problem, or at least complaint, that I haven't had, but I would complain about if I was on the other end, is sometimes these videos or audio messages get pretty long, and sometimes that'll be to my partner, sometimes that'll be to a client, sometimes that'll be to a programmer, designer. This is just how I communicate, and that's behind the scenes. And yet, when I'm trying to communicate what I have to say to other people, subscribers, or I don't want to say fans, but just people interested in consuming some content on app development, marketing, and advertising, I write it. I'm not a good writer. I don't like to write. There's tons of grammar mistakes. I don't like to edit. So maybe this is a little bit of a test to see if I begin to use more video content. It doesn't mean just for this site. It just means, with some of the other projects I have going, maybe it doesn't work out with this, but I thought I'd give it a shot. So right now, what I'll end up doing is, if I'm going to send a few emails in the next week or so, if I'm going to, inform you on some things and maybe pitch a product, instead of doing just emails, I might have like, well, here's, hey, how you doing? Here's the email. Let's see here if I can bring it up. Like today, I'm going to go over this email that I'm going to send out. And again, you may have seen this link to the video up here somewhere, or maybe, if I put it on YouTube or something, you find it just by searching down the line. Who knows? There might be one of these videos. I don't know if I even want to call them episodes. I might just say like video 1, because it might stop here. But, it'll say something like, hey, how's it going? Below you'll see an email. Just want to update you on a few things. I've also recorded a screen recording, and me going over the email and a few things that are harder to communicate through text. So check it out. So what that means is, if I send an email, and maybe I do this if I do some blog posts, you're going to have two ways to consume it. So depending on what your day looks like, and how you like to consume content, depending on the niche or whatever, you'll be able to read my email, right? Or you'll be able to click a link and just set your phone there on your computer and just watch me talk and decide, okay, this is something I'm interested in. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. And, again, maybe we can show some more stuff with these videos than we can in just the text. So that's sort of the intro of what I want to say. Let's see how long I went. So that's they're already off on a long start. So that hopefully we're not going to have a set time on these videos. I'd like to keep them 5 minutes. That's probably never going to happen. 10 minutes, under 10 minutes would probably be a good cutoff. But because I have this front end, intro, it's probably going to be a bit longer on this one. So today, what I want to talk about, what's the subject? That's going to be a different subject. So I was to a different list. Who knows what the subject is going to be? Something about app competition. And basically what I go in here is I say, there's a lot of competition in the App Store right now, so there's probably two different sides of that that I'll mention today, and it's, people that think the opportunity of publishing apps, if you're not some big company or you don't have funding, is over, and then there's other people like me that, although we haven't been spending every minute of every day on our apps and marketing, I still believe that the competition, so of the second part, the competition out there is proving that apps are still hot and there's still a lot of opportunity. But the fact that number two, we will play, and I mean number two is in, I'm glad there's competition. I'm glad it's crowded. I'm glad people think it's hard, because the people at the number one that says, oh, it's just not profitable. Well, it's not profitable to do it the same way that it was when you started out, or when I started out, and it was more about reskinning, and it was kind of like, I don't want to use the word hacks or sort of like shortcuts, but I mean, to be able to take a template and reskin it and not add anything cool to it, not do any extra work. A lot of people are using stock images back in the day, and you would just upload a casino app that wasn't even that good. And because of the way that the App Store was set up, you would get a certain number of downloads, and then depending on your app placements, you would get a certain amount of revenue. So like crappy casino games that we had back in the day, not our template. I'm not saying that it was a bad template. It was just based on like a comparison of the high-end games in the way that the game worked versus those games. They weren't very good. But I mean, I remember publishing a few of my first casino games. I don't know if it was 2014 or something like that, maybe into 2015. And I was out with some friends. I honestly had my AppLovin account up on my phone, not to show them, but just for me to look at. And I would, hit refresh every hour or something like that, and I would get more and more revenue. A few of those apps, again, I know this isn't life-changing money, but early on, developing apps, making a few bucks a day to 20 to 30, 40 bucks a day seemed crazy to me. And then you launch a few of these casino apps, and they make $1,500, $2,000 on one ad network. That was just on AppLovin or something like that. That was back before you're filtering ads and trying to get eCPM up. That was just because the App Store was set up to where when you released a new app, it it would be featured on like a section there. I can't remember what it was called, if it was featured or newly released. And I don't know how the algorithm worked, but at a certain point you would get these downloads and you would get this revenue, and then people would just continue to do that. So if you're making $1,000, $2,000 per app, that was when people, I met a few of them when we're talking about reskins. I think I ended up having, 50 to 75 over the course of the reskin era, and there was people that had over 1,000 in multiple companies and all this, and I'm sure made millions, but I never had it to that scale. So when we compare the way that was being done, and all it was is it wasn't really offering much value. It was sort of gaming the system in a way, because it was simple to get your foot in the door. But I think what a lot of us do, and this isn't just in apps, and I'm guilty of it across the board with multiple things. I'm sure you have too, unless you're perfect. And you get in, it's being, complacent. You get in and you're like, wow, this is easy. All I have to do is get new graphics, and I can make a system with this, and I can reskin it, and I can upload it, and I can get revenue, and then we can have multiple app accounts. But you're not really adding much value to the store. You're not adding much value to the user. All you're doing is trying to earn revenue, which is fair. But eventually that runs out, and it has several times. The compliances that we have to keep up with, Apple rejecting certain types of templates and accounts based on your activity, and now that person that, if you forgot, the people in the number one category here, it isn't worth the trouble, or there's too much competition. There's a lot of competition, sure, but what's happened in these waves every year and a half, it gets harder and harder to do the same stuff that was easy back in the day. So people don't renew their Apple account, or they jump ship to something else, or they get into selling t-shirts, or various products, running Facebook ads. And if you are part of groups on Facebook, talk about Facebook advertising and apps and e-commerce, and I'm not in a ton of them, and but I have enough feel to see the patterns where things, we have that easy period, and then it gets harder and harder, and then there's some compliance updates or policy updates to try to get out the scammers. Even like PayPal, I've read about recently these people, they claim they're innocent, but I mean PayPal and Stripe and all these payment processors to make it more difficult to do, certain things like drop shipping. There's a golden period for a lot of different methods, and then when too many people jump on, it has to change, and then it gets harder, and a lot of people quit. So those people in the number one category there that think it's too hard and too much competition, it's just harder to do the same things and make enough money to make worth your time, I guess. Not even going to get into Amazon, selling on Amazon and how that's changed. I'm not in that. I tried a few years ago, failed. I think I focused on the wrong details. Probably, lost several $1,000. Well, I was trying to be nice to myself. I did. I mean, it wasn't probably, I did. I think I broke even on some of my inventory, but like the course, that I bought, that a lot of, some of you might have bought, and just various other things you write off, like, oh, this is just what happens when you start a new thing. Well, of course you don't get that back. So let's transition into a little bit more of this email. So I'm thinking competition is good. I'm saying, make it seem as hard as it is for other people so they can jump ship, pull the ripcord, whatever the case is. And then here, in 6 months, maybe less, when it's thinned out a little bit and people are doing newer things, people are focusing on, creating value and building brands and getting user information, not like all the stuff you've probably heard about lately, like you're stealing information, but I mean, like, you get people to be a part of your group, Facebook group for an app, you get email contacts, you get followings on multiple platforms, because, one day one of these things is going to change, and if you only have one source of income, traffic, interest, whatever it can change your business. It can shut you down overnight. When you hear about some of these e-com people, PayPal freezing their accounts with thousands and thousands of dollars, and then putting freezes on it for 180, 365 days. It's scary. And a lot of you might not be to that level, and I'm not either, and I'm not even using PayPal like that. But it just made me think, and that's why I'm sort of restarting this campaign, where we need to start building more value in creating a customer experience where you're not worried about these things that can change overnight, because people are going to follow you wherever you go, because whatever you're doing is good. So what did I say here? You irritated, you spent hard-earned cash on a project in design and development that didn't make your money back. So if you're watching this email, or you're watching this video, and you haven't spent money on an app that you have not got your money back, then you're doing better than most people, because you know, there are those projects that you start and you get to learn a little bit, and a lot of times that doesn't end up being a lot of revenue, but you're on to the next. And you know, once you get a ton of apps and a ton of experience, you have less, I guess you have either quicker failures or you have less failures to get to that win. So more times than I care to admit, yeah, I fail all the time. Okay, so this is a big one I think I hear about. Somebody published a similar app. Theirs is doing better. You know, when you launched your app, didn't take off like you hoped. I have plenty of those stories too. Your app is in a popular niche and can't break through the noise. This actually goes with this first one here. Usually the ones that aren't as good, that are doing better than you, it's just because they know how to advertise and market and position. I've seen that a lot with the emoji type space. You tried Facebook ads and couldn't get them profitable. I've seen this a lot too. You know, a year or so ago, there's a few people pushing Facebook ads courses. We have one as well. We didn't really push it. We did very little in sales. A lot of times it was just a bonus to other things we were offering. The people that were offering these courses, I'm not saying that I personally, you know, hang out with and know, but I know they know me and I know them to the point where they put out great stuff, but just because you know how to do something, and this is, I'm guilty of this too, just because you know how to do something doesn't mean that even if you put together an awesome course or, you know, steps, you know, like a free guide or an ebook or something, doesn't mean that somebody's going to be able to get the same results. And what I mean by that is you have like Facebook ads, there's so many variables. Like you can teach, like, yeah, you search the interests, and yes, you layer the interests, and you use your data, and then you retarget, and you use lookalike audiences, and you do all these things. But some niches are going to be really good, and some are going to be 2 or 3 times as much, or some are already going to be saturated, and that's also going to impact the cost. So what I'm saying is you can sell a system that's awesome, and people either don't follow through with it, or they won't get the same results, because when you sell a system, you're trying to take it to where you don't have to work with one individual client, you know, day in and day out on their specific needs. A lot of people wouldn't be able to afford that, and it also takes your freedom away. So what I'm saying is, if I sell a course to somebody, or I sell a consulting package, and I'm working with one person, that's going to cost them a lot more. Whereas if I can sell a course and bring the price down to reach more people, but the downside to that is there's only so much I can assume. Well, actually, it's a little dangerous to assume. So there's only so much I can teach, and other people can teach and show. I'm on the student side with a lot of other things. Maybe not right at the moment, but I have been over the years. There's only so much they can put into a system, or I can put into a system to learn, and not get too specific where it won't make sense for you. But those specifics could be the difference in it working and it not working. So I guess I'm kind of going off topic here a little bit. But Facebook ads used to be a lot easier to do for people that were starting out. I guess I could have just said that. And that has to do with saturation in what you're trying, like emoji apps. Like it used to be easier, and now it can be a little harder if you don't have something unique and you don't know how to target. But it also has to do with Facebook changing. So just in general, if prices are going up. So of course it probably resulted in less revenue downwards. So let me see where we're at here. I'll have to cut that out. Let's see here, 20 minutes. It's too long. But so I'm just saying, there's a lot of competition in today's market. What are you supposed to do? So even if you pick an awesome niche, somebody can steal it. So the mistake number one that I talk about here is, most experts are going to teach you to build out this huge plan. This slow and steady process sounds warm and toasty and reminds me of a scene from Tommy Boy. So this is what I'm talking about.
Puts a fancy guarantee in the box because he wants you to you feel all warm and toasty inside. Yeah, makes a man feel good. Of course it does.
Okay. You don't remember it? Okay, maybe for brake pads. So anyway, this just says, instead of creating like a master plan and trying to, overbuild things all the time. So not only your plan, but your features and just the whole process, your speed of execution. So it's kind of, it goes into a little bit more detail with that, but I always like to use the weight loss example or the fitness example. It's like you can sit here and you can speculate and make all these food plans and schedule all your workouts, which I think is part of it, and go through these things for months and months. Or you can just look out a few days and decide that you're going to eat healthier, you're going to work out here, and you have to get a little bit of momentum. And when you get some momentum, this is kind of what I always say. It's like you have to, it's not fake it till you make it, but if you're trying to start running, maybe it's if you're trying to start running again and you haven't ran in a long time, it's a lot easier to just go out on a run, like a few runs in the first few days and get that under your belt, and then come back and be like, okay, well, here's what I want to do. I actually want to work up to this 5K, or I want to work up to this half marathon. And you have a little bit of confidence in behind, under your belt, and it makes, what I'm trying to say is it's really easy to get bogged down by planning and speculation, whereas if you just go out and do some stuff, you're going to get much farther, and then you can adjust. It's almost like, I don't know if you've ever heard this, when when the new year comes along, everybody goes to the gym or something like that, and then everybody drops off at a certain point. I've heard the joke where it's almost like you need some people, if they've been out of it so long, it's like they need to lose weight, or they feel they don't, but they need to lose weight. They feel like they have to lose weight and get healthier and look better before they can even go to the gym, because they're self-conscious, because they don't even want to be seen with the people that are, look like they could be on the front of fitness magazines. So the way to get bogged down is to not get started. And this is a big one. So capitalize on the excitement now and build momentum by executing quickly. So that's what I'm saying. So when you see the first seeds of, this is so big, of your idea taking root, it'll generate more momentum and give you a jump start. You need to see if you don't ever get... It's a really good example for me, because I did start running again after months and months off, maybe like back in mid-December or something like that, or I don't know, but I just started running. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how many miles I was going to run. I kind of knew how many miles I was going to run on the run, but I mean like a weekly thing, or if am I training for something, all I knew is I had to get moving and I wanted to get out and get some fresh air. And as I started to get on those runs, I'm like, okay, well, it starts to be clear. Like, okay, well, I'll go on a run today. I'll go on one in a few days. And then like, it just started to happen. It's just really powerful if you get out and do something versus just sitting around planning, thinking how perfect it's going to be and how you're going to do all that. So mistake number 2, you're always asking people what they think of your app idea, or your weight loss idea, or whatever it is, your running idea. If they're not, we tend to like romanticize, I think, things a lot in our head, where because we're constantly thinking about it, we think that everybody else has this same like lead up and backstory, and they know of like the failures you've had and why this one's going to be different, and like all the why we're trying to do it. No, people usually don't. Even if you share a lot, they're never going to know the exact same thing you do. So when you go in and you're really excited about something, let's say you get the idea, right, and you're about to go out. Here, we'll use the running idea. So you have an idea that you're going to start running, right? And then you go out. You're getting ready to go out. Whoever you live with, roommate, significant other, whatever, and you're like, I don't really care. I'm going to just get out and run. I'm going to move around for a few times a week, and then we'll figure out like if this is going to transition into cycling or going into the gym, or am I actually going to train for a race or whatever. You'll find out all those details, and you'll ask yourself the questions, find out your whys and all that later. But before you even get on your shoes, somebody in the house is like, well, what are you doing? or you're excited and you haven't put your shoes on, and you're like, hey, I want to tell you, like, here's what I want to do. Like, okay, so what are you doing? Like, I'm gonna go on a run. And they're like, run? Why would you go on a run? It's either like they don't like to run, they don't get it, or they don't think you should like to, whatever it is, and it just takes the wind out of your sail. You don't even go on the run, and then you speculate for another week or two, and then you're like, so what I'm saying is, you don't have to get validation of your ideas and your plans all the time. We get caught up in this. We think people are going to have the same views all the time. It's not worth it. What people do, this is a big one. I was thinking about another blog post that I did. But in the blog post, what I say is that the people that tend to be the closest around us, they will support whatever we want. I didn't say that right. They will support what we show passion about. So if you want to start running, or you have this app idea, it's a lot easier to get that momentum. Go on a few runs, sketch out your app a little bit, take some action, have like a prototype made, whatever the case is, and show somebody then. Somebody asks what you're doing, like, oh yeah, I went on a few runs last week. It felt really good, so I'm gonna go on some runs this week. Or hey, I had this new app idea. I contacted a programmer. Maybe you are a programmer, and here's like an initial concept. I think it'll be great for people that like to do X. That's a lot better than saying, hey, I think I'm gonna run sometime, or hey, I'm gonna go on a run eventually, or hey, I have this app idea I've wanted to talk about. When people see action and they see momentum and they see, your passion, they tend to support and sort of mimic that, and give you what you initially wanted when you asked people. So instead of saying, what do you think? It's easier to say, hey, I've been, you get the point. So that was just sort of a hidden thing I wanted to mention. So doing what everybody else is doing. So a good example of this is going to be, it's not absolutely true, across the board, but the example, and I'm not trying to put them, I still have plenty of emoji apps, but when we're looking at like last year, about this time, and it started to get big, and throughout the rest of the year and early this year, it's like the emoji apps, traditional emoji apps, are still very, very popular. There's so many niches that have never been reached and probably will never be reached. And they would work great with. But what's happening is everybody tends to go for the easy ones. So they're going to get like an iOS emoji template. We have them. A few other people have them. I'm sure you can get them on marketplace sites. We built one of the best ones, and they're really great. I think of like the first step, right? You're testing a niche. You're getting contact information. Maybe you're going to launch like a new type of emoji app down the line, like one of the ones that we have, like an emoji builder. Maybe you're going to get into e-com, whatever. You're proving concept. You're promoting an emoji app to a niche that should be interested in it. If they buy a $3.99 app, there's a good chance they might want to buy a t-shirt. Maybe you have something integrated into the app where they can buy things like that. It's a great step. It's a great first step. Especially if it's a paid app. If it's free app, then it's even better. If you're going to go to that bigger purchase, you're using the app as a lead magnet. You're getting people in maybe to download the app for free. They can have them for free, but they have to give you their email address, and then you build it up there. You start to engage with them on Facebook. You're putting in content. Later, you pitch something. Who knows? Maybe it's a service. I don't know. But a lot of people instead are just thinking that's the end of the road. So it's like, oh, we're going to do an emoji app. We're going to do it for a dog breed that like 100 or 1,000 other people have already done, and we're going to wonder why it doesn't work out when we launch it with no advertising or marketing sort of background or plan or strategy. So if you're going to do what everybody else is doing, know that it might not, if you don't have like a unique angle or you don't have a reason to do it, like, hey, I'm going to post, what's one of the like the wiener dogs, right? Or we have a client that does, or it's like a client through a partnership, whatever, with wiener dogs, or what's one of the other popular ones? I'm blanking right now on dogs, but whatever like the top dog emoji apps that have been in the store forever, it's like if you publish one exactly like that, like are you just doing it for free so you can get the contact information to move on, or are you really going to try to compete in a niche that, here's the problem, all the other previous apps, even if they did it poorly, if they ran Facebook ads, they targeted the easiest things, right? So these users, these people that love wiener dogs, whatever, they've seen so many ads for so many different emoji apps and products that your cost might be triple, quadruple what it was somebody a year ago. So if you are going to do what other people are doing, if you're going to use like an emoji template, try to find a niche that you can prove is engaged and excited, and they've been passed over for something like this. I did that with one of my emoji apps. It did very, very well. Because it was when we released it, no one else had done that breed or been in that niche, so they were hungry, they were thirsty, and we got those initial flood of downloads that were low cost and authentic, based on if somebody did 100 apps to that niche and they've been getting ads and ads for a year, and you launch and it costs you like $10 to get it installed. That's probably why, or you just can't target. So I think that's about it. This was a way longer video than I initially wanted to do, over 30 minutes. I'd like to have these like 10 minutes. If I send an email, maybe there's just a 5 or a 10 minute summary. If I'm doing, like a pitch for a product, maybe I do a shorter video, but this was just to kind of test it out. So what I'd like you to do is comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment like, hey, I like this, I like the format. You can respond to the email that you found the link in, possibly. I just want to know, again, maybe 5-10 minutes is a better timeline. I just sort of wanted to like catch up with everything in the market and why I want to do video. Who knows if it'll be good to do it in this space or if it'll just be good for another project. I do know that video is something I want to get into more, possibly a podcast down the line, video and audio, because it's a lot easier for me to communicate this way than it is to type. I don't want to say easier, it's just more enjoyable, and then on my end, and I think it can be more enjoyable on the on your side to consume it, because when I consume content, sometimes I want to read it, sometimes I want to watch videos when I'm just like chilling or in bed. Sometimes I used to do this more. I want to listen to a podcast on a run or a bike ride or something. So I think just giving people the option. But if you have any questions, feel free to hit reply to the email, but please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell there to subscribe to future notifications, and I'll maybe, hopefully, see you in the next video. See ya. Ooh, and if you're not an email subscriber already, before I get off here, just go to moneyfromapps.com and you'll see, a little message, and you can click on the button and you can be a subscriber, and then you'll get notifications when we do a new video through email as well. So have a good one. This is Todd Smith, moneyfromapps.com, Outlandish Apps. Take care.